As short-lived as Clarice Starling and Hannibal Lecter's runtime is together, it's one which lives on to be talked about even today, and for good reason.
Canada be damned. I'm going to the Klondike.
The Klondike is Canada.
Giorgio, you be doing just fine, brother.
Partnerships. They're the basis of many films. From The Odd Couple to Thelma and Louise, duos have graced the big screen for decades across a number of genres. Without them, there would surely be a void in the history of noteworthy filmmaking. I mean, where would action films be today, if not for the buddy cop film? Opposites attract is usually the name of the game for these films, and why not? What's the sense of dividing the lead in two if both characters are alike? The fun of just about all of these films is watching how characters from different backgrounds clash. Yet perhaps the most intriguing one for me is one in which the opposites don't clash. Those characters are Clarice Starling and Hannibal Lecter of Jonathan Demme's 1991 thriller, The Silence of the Lambs.
You know who he is, don't you? Tell me who decapitated your patient, Doctor.
All good things to those who wait.
Although this video focuses on the Starling-Lecter duo, The Silence of the Lambs isn't exactly about a relationship. Its relationship is significant, but the journey is a hero's journey, singular, and it's from the point of view of Clarice. Clarice is played by Jodie Foster, who in the film is a young, bright, and ambitious student with the FBI. She's learning the ropes until she's given a task out of the blue.
We're interviewing all the serial killers now in custody for a psychobehavioral profile. See, the one we want most refuses to cooperate. I want you to go after him again today in the asylum.
Who's the subject?
The psychiatrist, Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal the cannibal.
Unbeknownst to Clarice, what started off as an assignment in profiling actually turns out to be a fishing expedition into any useful info Lecter could provide on an ongoing manhunt.
I'll help you catch him, Clarice.
The man they're hoping to find is a notorious serial killer by the nickname Buffalo Bill, whose MO is skinning women.
Now he places the lotion in the basket.
Please. Please. I want to go home, please. Please.
He places the lotion in the basket.
It's no surprise when you watch The Silence of the Lambs why Anthony Hopkins steals the show as Hannibal Lecter. The performance is absolutely captivating.
Turns? If I help you, Clarice, it will be turns with us too. Quid pro quo. I tell you things, you tell me things. Not about this case, though. About yourself.
Hopkins effortlessly draws you in, and Jonathan Demme's direction only elevates that even more. As Lecter, Hopkins could probably recite a glossary and make it appealing. Yet as much as everyone talks about him in this film, I don't think it would be what it is without Jodie Foster as his counterweight. In their first encounter, Clarice opens by establishing her place in the pecking order, respectfully placing herself below Lecter.
Yes, I'm a student. I'm here to learn from you. Maybe you can decide for yourself whether or not I'm qualified enough to do that.
This is strictly an intellectual metric, because in the same breath she stands firm without being walked over, establishing that she may be intellectually inferior, but authoritatively superior.
And now this ham-handed segue into your questionnaire. It won't do.
I'm only asking you to look at this, Doctor. Either you will or you won't.
Yeah.
Her back is against the wall due to a lack of time, so she lowers her guard and lets Lecter in. By doing so, Lecter gains respect and a growing affinity for Clarice, while Clarice stays firm and keeps her eyes on the target.
You're very frank, Clarice. I think it would be quite something to know you in private life.
Quid pro quo, Doctor.
Over the course of their few discussions, a rapport is developed, and in the process, they each grow a better understanding of one another. Perhaps none of this would have occurred had Lecter not given Clarice a tip involving a former patient. That tip was prompted by Lecter's prison neighbor, Miggs, making sure the juice was loose. But I wonder if that tip was also given on reflection of Lecter's treatment of Clarice towards the end of their first meeting. Remember, Lecter insulted Clarice, Miggs did his thing, then Lecter helped Clarice. Lecter was appalled by Miggs's actions, but I also suspect Lecter was appalled by his own. After all, Lecter valued manners and politeness, and it was he who started with the insults. Clarice merely stood her ground and fed them back to him. It is only later, when Clarice has a better understanding of Lecter, does she anticipate what's in his nature.
He won't come after me.
Oh, really?
He won't. I can't explain it. He would consider that rude.
It's no secret the two want something from one another, but it's the little gestures, especially on the part of Clarice, that strengthens their rapport as well as their respect and fascination with each other.
I thought you might like your drawings back, Doctor. Just until you get your view.
Or did Jack Crawford send you for one last wheedle before you're both booted off the case?
No, I came because I wanted to.
People will say we're in love.
It's why, by the end, spoiler alert, Lecter escapes from prison and risks everything to reassure Clarice of her safety, and in turn, Clarice reminds Lecter what's in her nature.
I have no plans to call on you, Clarice. The world's more interesting with you in it. So you take care now to extend me the same courtesy.
You know I can't make that promise.
It probably would have been wise to have mentioned earlier that I have not read a single one of Thomas Harris's books which feature these characters. Maybe these books have more insight into what I've spoken of in this video. Perhaps some of my conclusions may even be discredited by them. But before you jump down my throat and get righteous in the comments by saying, "But in the book they say Hannibal and Clarice," I want you to keep in mind that this is Under the Radar Movies, and our focus is just that, movies. We may have only scratched the surface of this movie by highlighting a particular aspect of it, but The Silence of the Lambs has much more to it than what I've spoken of here. And after 30 years, it's remarkable how this film keeps us talking, long after The Silence of the Lambs.